How's it going? This is Fox back again for sound design tutorials. Another subscriber request today. This one was by somebody who got in touch with me via my Facebook account, which is Sound Design Tutorials. He wanted me to make this Andruss Going Down. It's the Woo2tech remix. I'm not going to play it because it's going to interfere with my monetization, but this is the bass he wanted me to make. He didn't tell me what synth, but he asked me Sylenth when I've done a request for this chap already. Sorry, I can't remember his name. Victor, I think it was. So yeah, I've done it with Sylenth. So yeah, there'll be a link in the description to that sound, so you can compare it. It's pretty good. Not exactly the same. I've had to use a few outboard effects, just a bit of saturation, bit of EQing just to shape the sound. But yeah, this is it with a little drum loop. Again, I'm pretty sure they didn't use Sylenth to make it. You're not generally going to go to Sylenth to make these sort of sounds, but it is possible with, say, a bit of it, outboard EQing, compression, and saturation. It's pretty good, so it's not perfect, but so yeah, this patch will be free to download. I've set up an account now, a Dropbox link, so I can give you all the patches that I make in these tutorials for free. So click on the link at the bottom if you want this patch. It's yours. So yeah, let's get to it then. I'll solo the Sylenth track. So we're going to go ahead and initialize this. It's two separate parts. They are totally different from each other, with filters doing two totally different things. So we'll work on them individually. I'll explain what we're doing while we go along. So yeah, the first one, we want to pitch an octave up. We want to keep it on saw wave, and we want 8 voices. We'll set up the main amp envelope for part A. This one is going to be quite a plucky-ish envelope. Decay around about halfway. A tiny bit of release, a tiny bit of attack, just to stop any clicks. Stereo I pulled down to around about 3%, so it's aiming it to more centre of the sound because it is a bass patch. I didn't detune the new voices at all. I just moved the phase around ever so slightly. About 20 degrees. Square wave oscillator A2, just 2 voices. Keep both of them on retrig so that the yellow box is highlighted. Didn't change the octave or note on this one at all. I did detune these 2 voices ever so slightly. This is what gave it the tiny bit of stereo width that I wanted. Again, stereo to dead zero. The detuning it gives it a stereo effect, even though, again, the sound is quite centered because we're pushing the voices slightly apart from each other. Square wave and saw wave together, great for these sort of basses. So we'll do the effects at the end. I'll set the filter up for this now, so I want to turn it on. We're going to use a low pass filter as always for these sort of basses. It's a 12 dB low pass filter. There's 2 ways you can do a plucky sort of filter envelope. You can either have the filter closed and then use a quick envelope to open it and then close it again, or you can set the filter to the desired amount that you want and get it to close slowly with an attack time. For this one, that's what I did. So I'll move the cutoff round to about 700 hertz to start with. A bit more actually. 14, say. And I'll use cutoff A. We're going to use mod envelope 1 to control this cutoff. Set it to cutoff A and want it to go negative, about -5, 5.3, something like that. And as I say, if you put the sustain level on full, it's the attack time that tells you how long it's going to take for it to close up the amount that we've said here. Tiny bit of release again, just to stop any notes clicking. We'll play with this later on once we set part B up, but for now we're going to keep it there. Attack time of around about 2.8. going to drive the sound because it was quite a fuzzy sort of sound when I listened to it. Just help warm the mids up a little bit. No resonance. The master filter control, we might as well set this up now. We want to click on the warm drive, tiny bit of key tracking. I literally just had a tiny little bit, just so the next note up from the bass note was a little bit raspier. The master filter cutoff. $35 Hz, something like that, sounds good for the minute. So that's part A done. We're going to go to part B now. This one, as I say, it's going to sound totally different because we're going to use a different envelope, the opposite envelope, the one I spoke about to flick the filter open and then close it. We're going to use a sine wave for this. This is going to reinforce the real low part of the sounds. We want 8 voices. We don't want to detune them at all. Volume on full. For these two parts, I did pan this slightly to the left and then part B2 slightly to the right. We'll set B2 up in a minute. I'll solo this. Hardly audible because, I say, this is taking care of the real deep bit of the sound. We want to back the attack off slightly. Tiny little bit of release again. Stops any clicking from the notes overlapping. This one is a low pass filter again. 24 dB per octave this time. Wanted it to be a bit steeper. Start off cutoff point I had at 26 Hertz. Drive again. You're not going to hear anything at 26 Hertz, so we need to use a filter to open it so we can get a snapshot of a brighter part of the sound. So we're going to use mod envelope 2 to control cutoff B, which is this. And we want this to be dialed right quite a way around to around about 7. So it's going to open the filter pretty much all the way and then close it quite quickly. This time it's the decay knob that controls the length of time it takes. You don't want any sustain. We're going to give it a tiny bit of release again. About 4 for the decay time for that. Yeah, we're getting there. This one, we want to pitch this up 2 octaves. I used a saw wave, 3 voices. That's it. For part B, I didn't do anything with these dials, I didn't think. Stereo was on 0 again. As I say, we pan this one slightly to the right. Just pull the volume down ever so slightly. In the main mix section, we want to make part A more prominent, so I boosted the volume to 6 for A and pulled it down to around about 3.5 for B. So the part A is the more prominent part of the sound. That's the two together. Lovely plucky sound. Just the effects to set up now. So the master filter we did when we set up part A. So yeah, I used a bit of distortion. Distortion I chose was overdrive. Not too much really, round about 3. Dry wet round about the same. 30%. So it wasn't doing too much. The chorus might help this sound out a lot actually. I turned it on. The first delay I had around 4 milliseconds. The rate on dead 0, so there's no LFO moving the sound. The depth I kept where it was. Feedback I introduced a little bit. And the width I set at dead center, 50%. And the dry wet around about 35%. I'll turn the chorus on and off. With a rate of 0 on a chorus and a really fast delay time, it just helps thicken the sound up a little bit. You don't get the typical chorus moving filament with any LFO going through it because we've got the rate on dead 0. And the depth sort of it's almost like aiming. It's almost like honing the EQ where you want it. So we're sort of aiming towards the lowers. I say mix around 35%. Nice little trick for basses. A chorus with no LFO on it. Last and not least, I used a compressor. Ratio 2/1. Threshold -4. So I wasn't pumping it too hard. A tiny bit of attack. Quite a snappy release as well. That's what it sounds like without the EQing and the saturator on. You're getting a nice pluck from part B because we've got that nice snappy envelope on it, and then part A takes over because the filter is taking longer for it to close down. So we'll talk about this EQing. I'll turn it on. I'll take this little notch out so you can hear what effect it has. This number 2 EQ here is just boosting around 100 hertz because it's a bass. I generally do that. It's only boosting around about, it says +6. You don't want to be going any higher than that really if you're boosting. So yeah, this notch. There was just too much rasp there for me. I mean, you might not be able to hear it, but it did make a difference to me. Same with the saturator. I set it. I originally had it on an analog clip. Soft sign's a bit of a steeper distortion curve. The steeper the curve, the higher the distortion. It sounded better to me. 50-50 roughly on the dry wet mix, so it's sort of a bit of parallel saturation, and I'm aiming it around about 700 hertz, which is just about here, just before that not drop out that I did. And that's it. There you have it. Nice and simple. Andruss going down. Woo2. What was it? Andruss going down. God knows what's happened there. Woo2tech remix. As I say, grab this patch in the description. Make sure you subscribe for more tutorials and live streams. Thanks for watching.